Welcome to Beyond Business, the podcast that breaks the traditional boundaries of business and delves into the stories of remarkable people who are making a difference with their work. We will explore the human side of business, the impact on society, and the lives of the leaders creating change. This is a search for a deeper meaning in the pursuit of success. In this week's episode, Kyle Draper, founder of Content Compounding, author of Rethink Everything, and social media expert, breaks down effective social media strategy for service-based businesses. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a business executive, or simply curious, consider subscribing and following the show each week. This is Beyond Business, where we unlock the soul of our work. Now, here's your host, founder of Next Crest Coaching, Kevin Hoover.
Hey, welcome back. This is Kevin. I'm here with Kyle Draper, and he and I have a lot in common on a lot of levels. It's so good to have an expert in this space. Kyle, thanks for being here, brother. I really appreciate you.
Yes, sir, man. I'm excited to be here.
You and I work a lot with people in industries like real estate, lending, those kind of spaces, entrepreneurs. You're the social media guy. Like you're the guy that knows the marketing aspect of social media. So I want to ask one, because I see it out there and it bugs me, but I'm not the expert, so I can't quite put my thumb on what's going on. But what are we doing wrong? In the real estate space, what are we doing wrong? Why is social media marketing such a challenge for us?
Well, Kev, can I call you Kev? My brother's Kevin.
Absolutely.
So, okay,
Absolutely.
cool. So, Kev, man, what I see is we've been taught social media poorly. So the origination of why we do this so bad is that most realtors, lenders, insurance agents, just people in sales, they were taught social media as an extension of their business. So we were taught, right, how to sell, how to negotiate, how to fight through, no's. And then whoever taught us that was like, oh, by the way, see that over there, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, you can sell there. That's an extension of your business. And so we've taken this concept, which was people invented social media to create a way for people to connect and meet one another and follow grandkids and connect to family members. And then we perverted it by turning it into this sales machine. And so now what most people use it for is just to be a billboard in their business. And there's not a two-way street of value taking place. And so most realtors, lenders, insurance agents become white noise. And nobody wants to hear from them because all they know how to do is post about me, my closings, my business, my new this, my new that. And dude, it's exhausting. If we treated a coffee the way realtors treat social media, you would never get a second coffee with those people. And so that's the biggest issue that I see.
I would agree. I preach all the time about the just listed, just sold content. It's like some people, that's all they put up there. It's just listed, just sold. And I'm like, you might as well just say, I just got paid. I just got paid. I just got paid.
Right.
I just got paid. You're right. It's all me. So I think that begs the question, like, what is real value when it comes to social media content? I think there's a lot of, I struggle with it. I know, and I know a lot of people that do. Like, what do you consider real value? Because I know you really hone in on high level value for the person that you're trying to help.
Yeah.
So what is real value?
Well, so now I think real value looks two different ways. One, from us, like from me to my people, from you to your people, value should look like, as the expert, what do I know that my people don't? And how do I share that with them in a way that doesn't make them feel stupid, but also doesn't make them feel sold to? And so we should become the educators of our space on social media. And so the way I get people there is with two questions. One, what do you get asked the most about blank? So fill it in. Insurance, mortgages, real estate, right? Fill in the blank for whoever's the listener. But then you should just be making a list. Every time you ask me a question about social media, I should go, whoop, that was a good one. And I'm going to write that down. All of those questions should become future content that we put on our social media, right? So that's how we should be initially creating value for the people we have. The second question is, what am I surprised that people don't already know?
Ooh, that's a good one.
So you and I are in a conversation, and you say something to me, and I go, whoa, 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 Kev, I should probably know what that is, but can you explain that to me? A dinger should go off in your brain that goes ding, ding, ding. If Kyle doesn't understand this, he's a pretty smart guy. There's probably other people that don't. And so then again, that should become a video that we do because we've realized that there's a gap in knowledge that I know as the expert, but that they don't know as just the consumer. And so those two questions, dude, we should never want for content again if we're constantly filtering through those two questions. But then
That's a great process.
The other thing at stake here, Kevin, that I don't think, like, this is what I try to preach about. This is actually chapter 1 in my book that's coming out, and it's called Social Proof. Okay, social proof is now we trust strangers more than we trust the people we should actually trust. And we can argue this, but the reason it's a fact is that if you and I are best friends and you call me up and go, bro, dude, we just went to this incredible restaurant. You and Lana need to go. You're going to love it. 10 years ago, I would have said, hey, honey, Kevin said that new spot on Broadway is unbelievable. You want to go Friday night? But now we have too much data at our fingertips. And so even though you're my best friend, I would take a bullet for you. I'm going to go to Google, type in the name of that restaurant. And if that restaurant has 2-star reviews, the internet isn't an idiot. My best friend Kevin is. And so, dude, so many people in our space, they're missing referrals because they're great at their job, but online they look like they suck.
Yeah.
And so I create almost all of my content from the perspective of, I was on a podcast this morning with Kevin. Kevin knows a ton of people that I don't know. Kevin is going to share this podcast with people. And so will my social media impress them when they hear me on Kevin's show, like me a little bit, and then what are they going to go see online? And that's the perspective that I think most people don't have because they woke up today going, I need business. What's the path to least resistance for me to try to get more? And I'm going to post crap on social media that doesn't mean anything to anybody.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. I think that perspective. I know you're a speaker as well, so you speak all over the place from stages and stuff like that. And I don't know if you've experienced this, but I sure have. As you're speaking, you look down and people are in their phone on your Facebook page verifying because they're like you said, They get that I like him a little bit, and now they're scrolling your content on your social media, verifying what you're live in the flesh saying. You've been hired to talk about this. Like there's a lot of social proof that says you are the guy to be saying this stuff.
Yeah.
And we're going through that thing. And so if they don't find that verification there, that's something that's really, for me, has come up recently. I'm sure it's been around a lot longer, but I think that's something that, especially in the real estate space, they need to know that by the time you get the listing appointment, people have already scrolled your personal page on Facebook, Instagram, like all that.
100%.
And that's where they're looking. Yeah. And so I want you to tell me a little bit. You've got this really interesting, it's a company, I believe, but it's also a great idea called content compounding.
Yeah.
And walk me through that. Like, where did that start? How did that come to you? It seems like two logical words, but I don't think anyone's ever put them together like that. And so walk me through that. Like, what's it mean?
I hope I put them together first. Otherwise I'm going to get sued by somebody. So I think I did. But man, the story behind content compounding is a cool one. So I had my kind of like coming out party as a speaker in November of 19 at NAR for the National Association of Realtors. And so this was like my first big national opportunity. You know, I did a great job. I booked a bunch of speaking gigs, and then boom, 4 months later, COVID shows up.
Yeah.
And so I look up and go, holy cow, there's no money coming in. Oh, because I'd also stopped coaching in December of 19. And so I let go of 40 plus one-on-one coaching clients. And so it was really depending on my speaking revenue as the revenue to feed my family. And so as I'm licking my wounds, going, this isn't fair, and man, like this was my opportunity, and COVID ruined it. I got a phone call from a past client of mine that said, hey, you know that content compounding thing that you teach us? Because I created that 2.5 years prior to COVID as just a teaching method to help realtors maximize their effort. Never thought about it being a business, but I taught it. So she says, if I have a teenager, can you teach them how to do it for me? And the minute she says that, my brain goes, I'm gonna do you one better. I'm gonna start a company and we'll do it for you. You can be our first client. And so I literally spun up a company in 3 days. We sucked so bad. Like it was horrible for probably the first year. We didn't know what we were doing. And I every time I see somebody that used to be a client back then, I'm like, have I apologized enough to you for like how horrible it was? You know? And that's how it started. And so it's evolved and this summer will be 3 years. And now our team's almost 20 people. And it's unbelievable. It's the lifeblood of my life and my business. And it wouldn't have happened had COVID not taken place.
Yeah. Whew. That's so I'm drawing out of that. It's like, you listen to someone who said, I have a need and I know you can solve it. And then you up the ante on that and said, okay, I'm listening. I'm reminded, I know and we'll talk about this in a minute. Like our faith is pretty similar. It's like that old joke where the couple's on the roof in the flood and, a boat comes by and says, you want to get in? No, my God will save me.
Yeah.
And then another boat, and then a helicopter. And then they end up passing around, getting to heaven. And God goes, I sent 2 boats and a helicopter.
What do you want from me?
Yeah. What do you want? So I think it is in those moments, and I'm familiar with that because I canceled probably 12 or 15 speaking gigs during COVID. And that is a deflation, but you had actually unplugged your business and that was your business. And so you kind of went back to zero.
Yeah, it was rough. It was dumb. I probably shouldn't have. I probably should have handled it differently.
Well, you know what? I find I find that if you're going to take business advice, take it from someone who's had experiences like that, not someone who's had the rosy path and never had to fight it out in any way.
Sure.
And so you had to create a bunch of content on your own and make it work for your own company very quickly. And that's why you probably became the expert. Like that's why content compounding is what it is. And everyone's going nuts over it because you actually are a practitioner of your own work. Like you built that on the same principles, I would imagine. It's fair.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Out of necessity, it was birthed. And so I think a lot of times those are the greatest companies.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just birthed on, man, we need another $1 million in the bank. What can we do, to get our 5th million? No, I just needed McDonald's on my kid's table, And so we were scrapping for everything we could find.
Yeah. And that's brilliant. I think those are the people I'm inspired by. Those are people I want to work with. And I know a lot of the people listening to this, that's who they like too. They like someone who's not just standing on the top of the mountain, shouting down what you should do. It's like someone who's been in it and done it. I know in content compounding, video it's a cornerstone of the work you do. Like, getting people to do video. Video is pretty popular. I think a lot of people know the importance of video, but I'm sure you do too. I still run into people who are like, I know I should do video, I'm just not. I know one of the first things you do is break down the mindset around it.
Yeah.
When you come into content compounding world, walk me through that. Like, what is the mindset that comes into your world, and what is the mindset when someone leaves your world?
Well, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get them to lessen the gap between what they already do in real life and then convincing themselves that it's different online. And so what I mean by that is when it comes to video, we have 3 main concerns: what we look like, what we sound like, and then what are we going to talk about? But if I take all of those people that have those concerns with video to coffee, they're not going to wear a ski mask to coffee because they didn't like the way they looked that day. They're not going to not talk because they're concerned with the way their voice sounds. So they're going to have cue cards, and they're going to write their responses on cards and show them to me. And then they're also not going to come in with a stack of index cards with questions on them because they're walking in fearful of like, well, oh my gosh, what if Kyle and I run out of things to talk about? And so I need to be able to pull the cue card out so that I can have, like, none of that exists when we are in person with people. But we pull this little device out, and all of a sudden, what was true in person is no longer true. We're concerned with all these strangers on the internet that they're not going to see me the same way my friend sees me, but it's all false. And so that's the biggest thing that I think I have people saying that work with us is, you just took the weird away. I thought it was super weird, but as I did it more, I realized that, you know who's on the other end of this eye hole? It's the people that I would go to coffee with. It's my people. So they know that I'm fat. They know how I talk. They know that I'm from Texas and that I have a draw, or they know, you know, that I'm married and have kids. And so I don't need to act a certain way or be a certain way or keep a certain thing out of the limelight because they already know all of that. And once we realize that they're the same, right? What you and I are doing right now is no different than having coffee.
Right.
It really changes the game for people.
I love that analogy because I never thought of it that way. You know, you wouldn't take your cue cards or, if you were going to have coffee, like that's exactly what this is. Like, I've never thought of that's brilliant. I think that probably gets results pretty quick as far as the mindset piece goes. Like when people can overcome that or understand it a little bit better, that's really brilliant. So doing all this video work, you know, this is more of a personal question for me because I want to know your opinion on it, but it will benefit a lot of people. But video is out there, a lot of different formats: TikTok, Reels, Stories, long form, YouTube Shorts. Like, there's a lot of video. What is the future of video? Like, and I'm not asking you to predict the future. Just give me your, like, where should we be focusing? What type of content should we be focusing on in video? Yeah.
So right now, the best video is that short vertical video, right? Under a minute, under 90 seconds, right? Giving people little micro opinions that don't require a ton of their time investing into it. And so that's for really the first time in the history of social media, almost all of the major players all value the same thing. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all of them are pushing short form vertical video. So it's awesome because 2 years ago, you had to kind of pick the platform you wanted to be on and then adopt what they like. But what they liked wasn't the same as the other guy and then the other person. And so short vertical video is the jam. But I differ because of content compounding. Where most people miss the way they create it is they just try to get good at creating Reels or TikToks. And they never invest in the second largest search engine on the planet, owned by the first, which is YouTube. And so what we teach, right, the strategy of content compounding is, hey, realtor, hey, lender, hey, insurance agent, you are an educator by nature. It's what you do for a living. And so if you would make that list that I talked about earlier, and then you'd start recording videos that are 3 to 6 to 8 to 10 minutes long, educating into a camera. Now that video is perfect for YouTube. So when people go to YouTube to look for what you do, there's going to be great content there for you. Then, Kev, we take that 6-minute video and then we rip it into tiny pieces. Because over the process of you and I doing this podcast, I'm going to say something that I didn't plan to say that just came out of who I am. And then we're going to pluck those 19 seconds out. And that's going to be a powerhouse short form piece of content that wasn't fabricated. It wasn't pre-designed. It just came out of the fabric of who I am. Therefore, it's going to resonate the most. And so when we do it this way, man, if your listeners would spend an hour a month creating 4 6 to 8 minute videos From those 6 to 8 minute videos, they're going to end up with about 16 short videos. And now you've just filled your entire month up full of video content, not of you as a salesperson, but of you as an expert that's there to create value for people. And so that's the way that I coach people to do it.
If you take nothing else from this man's genius on this show, take that 1 hour a month, and you've solved your biggest problem in content creation.
Yep.
Like 1 hour a month. I mean, that math just works so well. Now there's a lot of factors that go into that as far as, making a good video and giving yourself a lot of clips, but I think that is the biggest struggle that people have. It's, I can't keep up with it, or I can't. It's like 1 hour a month, bang out 6 videos, and then chop it up, or I actually have a professional chop it up, I would say.
Yep.
It's what I would do. That's amazing. ChatGPT, good thing, bad thing, indifferent. I've used it. I know you have. I know you've been on there. What's your opinion on ChatGPT when it pertains to content ideas and creating content?
I think it's awesome. I just brought on a lender to my podcast yesterday, and she was in technology before she was in mortgage. And so she loves AI, and we talked all about it. And what I ultimately took from it was AI isn't going to take our industry away, but the realtor using AI will beat the realtor who's not. The lender using AI will beat the lender that's not. The insurance agent using AI will beat the insurance agent that's not. And so I think we would be dumb to go and bury our heads in the sand and, we've never needed this before, and I'm not going to do it now, and it's just that the person that refuses to evolve is going to go by the wayside. And that's been true before ChatGPT showed up, right? Like that's always been true. And man, I actually used ChatGPT to write my back cover of my book. I wrote my back cover, and I looked at it and was like, it's fine. I don't love it. And so I literally opened up ChatGPT and I said, I'm about to put in a description of my book, rewrite it with humor. And then I hit the button, and it rewrote it with humor. And I was like, yeah, that's better. Like that. I like that better. But then my humor is very dry and very witty. And so then I said, okay, can we add in dry and witty humor? And then it rewrote it again, and it sounded slightly condescending. And I was like, yes, that is the one, right?
That's the one.
Like people that read it will go, that is Kyle. I can see him saying these things. And man, if it wasn't for ChatGPT, I wouldn't have got there. And so I love it.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's a great resource. I'm with you though. I think if you plug something in and you just copy and paste what they put, sure, you can do that, no problem. But I do think you have to go back and insert those little nuances, and knowing yourself is part of that. And that's brilliant. I do love it. I was just curious about that. So let me backtrack a little bit. So this is going back in your past a little bit. You were a pastor, and then a roofing guy. And if you've never been to Texas, being a roofing guy in Texas has got to be a load of fun in the summertime.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure that's a blast. So how do you segue from being a pastor to starting this amazing company and helping thousands of people raise their business and do better?
Kevin, the answer is not on purpose, right? That's the
Fair enough.
If God would have told me a decade ago that, hey, I know right now you're a pastor, but in a decade you're going to actually be traveling the country as a social media expert, right? I think I would have been slightly confused and probably not super into doing what he wanted me to do. And so, man, the way it all happened was I was a fifth generation pastor. And so like my great grandfather, I believe, was the first pastor in our family. And so when I signed up to be a ministry, like I thought that was it. Like I'm going to, go through the ranks and I'm going to have my own church one day. And I woke up one day just so downtrodden because everyone I met, the moment they found out that I was a pastor, they weren't cussing around me if they cussed. They weren't telling me how drunk they were the night before. Like they weren't, yeah, like they were becoming a fake version of themselves because of what they thought I was.
Mm.
And so I just woke up one day and was like, this sucks. Like this is literally the opposite of why I wanted to do what I do, because I just love people. I don't love fixing people. I just love loving people. And so I began to pray about it, and it, dude, it was a 2-year prayer before God gave me any clarity. But when he finally gave me clarity, the clarity he gave me was, Kyle, what if I can use you more in the business world with the heart of a pastor than I can inside the walls of a church? And so the moment I received that clarity, I quit our church ministry. We moved to Oklahoma. We started a roofing company, and that is where I learned how to sell. I learned marketing. I learned systems. I learned social media. I met a ton of realtors through that business. And I'm proud to say that like that's still a multi-million-dollar roofing company today that my dad and my brother run. And so really cool things are still happening through that company. But then as you alluded to, on an August afternoon, I'm standing on a roof and it's about 103 degrees outside. And literally my shoes, if I stay in one spot too long, my shoes are literally beginning to like adhere to the shingle. It's so hot.
Oh.
And I go, what am I doing? This is not my future. Like this is horrible, you know? And so
Yeah.
from there, I started a company with a buddy of mine who was a web developer, and we created this really cool platform that built websites for realtors. And so he was the builder, I was the hype man, and so it was in this season that I got tired of cold calling realtors. And so I prayed. This is all I know how to do, right? I wish I could take credit for stuff that makes me look smart, but I have nothing to do with it. But I just prayed and I was like, God, what am I good at, and what do realtors suck at? And I say sucks in my prayers to the Lord, like that's the relationship that we have. So for anybody that's wondering, you know, you can talk to him however you want. And dude, what he gave me was, you're a great communicator. Realtors suck at social media. Go learn social media and then go teach it to them. And so for 2 years, Kevin, I learned. Oh, and here was the nugget that I think could be powerful to unlock somebody on this podcast. The truth that God gave me in that season was, Kyle, if you know 1% more than them, you always have something of value to offer. And man, that is the rock I stood on. It's the rock I stand on to this day. That if I just know this much more than you, I've always got something to provide you. And so I started teaching classes. I taught hundreds of classes for free across the state of Oklahoma. And then, long story shorter, I got a phone call from a big Keller Williams office in Dallas Fort Worth that said, hey, we found you online. You know, could you come down and teach our brokerage? How much would it cost? And I thought, wait a second, can I get paid to do this? Is this like a real thing?
Is that a thing? Do people do that?
And so I remember, I think I charged them like $250. And I remember when they said yes, that I was like calling my wife going, you won't believe it. Somebody's paying me $250 to speak. This is crazy. And now I look back and go, what a freaking moron. Like, you know, I'm sure my wife was just going, you realize like we can't pay our mortgage with that. We can't hardly get groceries with that. But I'm glad you're excited. You know, maybe this will turn into something. And man, the rest is history. And so here we are, and somehow I've become a social media expert, and it's just an absolute blast and an honor to get to do what I do every day.
I love it. Those stories, I think, you know, especially when you've got someone in your life, like, you know, like your wife, you always go back to that story. And years from now, she might be like, $250. All right, go, honey, go do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like, but I think that's really fun. And that brings us, you know, at the time of you and I are talking today, we're a few days away from the book coming out. And by the time it airs, the book will already be out. So you want to make sure you go get the book. The book is called Rethink Everything. And if you haven't been able to put it together, I can put together why it's probably called that, because there's evidence in your life and business that just clear moments, hearing your story, where you did have to rethink everything. So tell me a little bit about the book. Like, what